I live in a really big city, so big that the light pollution obscures all but the brightest stars in the night sky. But when you go out far into the country, far away from any big city, the night sky lights up with thousands of stars twinkling at you, almost teasing you to reach out and try to grab them. Long ago, ancient people would gaze up at night with the same awe I do to find a group of stars that fits into a recognizable pattern, something we now know as an ancient constellation. These ancient people, from Greeks to Babylonians, would find a loose grouping of stars in the same general area of the night sky. They would assign a name to this group of stars that represented heroes, mythical beasts, and gods of their particular culture. Of all the ancient constellations, 48 are still in use today. The brightest stars were often chosen for an ancient constellation, while the fainter ones in the same area were commonly ignored. Stars of the southern sky, not visible to the inhabitants of the northern latitudes, were obviously not included at all, and the reverse is true as well. But let's face it, such constellations don't actually look like the hero, god, or mythical beast that's drawn on the screen right now. These stars are just dots humans used to connect lines to form an imaginary figure that represented something significant to them. Furthermore, the boundaries of constellations were approximate in ancient times, and sometimes included a star from another constellation as a result. To correct for these little hiccups and ambiguities, modern astronomers added another 40 constellations, for a total of 88 officially recognized constellations in the night sky. Now, each constellation has clearly defined boundaries, and a modern constellation is therefore not a group of stars that fits into a particular pattern, but rather an area of the night sky whose stars in that area belong to only one constellation. A modern constellation will usually include the group of stars of its ancient namesake, and some modern constellations may be circumpolar constellations, and this is a constellation which is near a celestial pole that never rises or never sets. Anyway, official modern recognition like this exists to help people communicate and understand things a bit better in astronomy. For example, I can tell you to go to St. Petersburg, but which one? The one in Russia or the one in Florida? If I told you the St. Petersburg in Russia, you would know exactly where to go. Similarly, if I told you that the planet Mars is in the constellation Leo, you'd know exactly where to look in the night sky to find Mars. Now, a modern constellation should not be confused with an asterism, an easily recognizable unofficial pattern or grouping of stars that can lie within one or more than one modern constellation. By that definition, you can sort of think of an asterism as an ancient constellation. An example of an asterism is the Big Dipper, located within the modern constellation we know as Ursa Major or Great Bear. The Big Dipper is made up of only 7 stars, whereas the constellation Ursa Major has many more that don't fit into any coherent picture created in our mind. Be that as it may, constellations or asterisms, you must remember that these groupings include stars that are mostly not physically associated with one another. The stars in a constellation are often far away from each other and might even be moving in different directions through space. However, the thing that they do have in common is the fact that they are all in about the same direction from our planet. An ancient constellation is a group of stars that fits into a recognizable pattern, whereas a modern constellation is an area of the night sky whose stars in that area belong to only one constellation. A constellation may be a circumpolar constellation, a constellation near a celestial pole that never rises or never sets. Today, there are a total of 88 constellations, 48 of which have ancient roots. But don't confuse a constellation like Ursa Major with an asterism like the Big Dipper. An asterism is an easily recognizable unofficial pattern or grouping of stars that can lie within one or more than one modern constellation.